So last year, I gave you guys a challenge of reading 10 pages per day. This was inspired by something that Dennis Prager says pretty regularly, that you'll be amazed by how much you'll read if you commit to reading only 10 pages a day. You know, that adds up to 3,650 pages by the end of the year, which is pretty impressive if you can look back at the last year and say, oh man, I haven't read a single book. Well, reading 3,000 pages is a big deal if you only read 10 pages a day. Well, I've got a new challenge for you because last year we did that one. And by the way, if you did that challenge, tell me some of the books that you read. I want you to pick 3 books that you read or at least started reading, and tell me something interesting about each of those books. I'll get to mine by the end of this video just so I can do a wrap up because I want to give you this year's challenge. For this year's challenge, we're going to look at habits. We're going to look at the habits that you have, because a habit by itself, just, existing as a habit, something that you do instinctively on a regular basis, is not by itself a bad thing, but it can become one. For example, I think one of the easiest ones to go to is pornography. Pornography is a terrible habit that turns into an addiction. It turns into an addiction where you're watching these sexual acts take place on the screen. By the way, you're not going to catch me using TikTok slang or corn or whatever the heck else the dumb TikTok weaklings say all the time. But, you've got these terrible things that you're watching all the time that literally change the brain. It changes your brain. It literally changes the way that your brain processes things. It hinders you from being able to be, sexually healthy. It affects the way that you approach relationships, even just friend relationships. Pornography changes the way that your brain works. It is a bad habit that becomes an addiction. It's an example, but also there's good habits as well. A good habit would be, once a day, I try to make sure that I eat something healthy, whether it's, a handful of almonds, or it's an apple or a peach or something like that. It's just, dadgummit, if every one of those things couldn't be taken to be something sexual. Anyways, those things can also be good habits. Reading 10 pages a day, great habit to have. Habits can control your life, or they can enrich your life. Let me tell you about the inspiration of this. I think you guys probably saw the live video that I did earlier. Either that, or I think you also saw there was a short that I put out where I saw a video on Instagram of a dad doing a side-by-side play of what happens when his kid walks in the room. In the first video, his kid walks in the room and he's just sitting there. He's got nothing else in his hands, and the kid comes in the room and he's automatically interacting with the kid, and the kid gets so excited, throws her hands up in the air and just runs to him. And in the next video, she comes back in the room, but he's holding his phone in his hand and looking at his phone. She comes in and, she loves dad, so she's curious what dad's doing. So she comes over and takes the phone from him so that she can look at the phone now. And that really struck me because at that exact moment, I was sitting next to my son looking at my phone. And I thought to myself, I don't want to live that way. That is not, that is terrible. That is setting a terrible precedent for my kid. I want to model better. So I decided to say, you know what? Let's take a look at the digital well-being on my phone. Let's see how much time I'm spending on my phone each day. And the day before I looked at that, I opened up the app, and that Wednesday I had spent 7 hours on my phone. I had spent 7 hours in one day on my phone. I will grant you an hour and a half of that was work-related. We were iced out that day for church, so I did an Instagram Live devotional. But that's still 5.5 hours of non-work-related things on my phone. And I was with my kid the entire time that day. That's not the life that I want to live. That is not the way that I wanted to live. And so I looked at the apps that I was spending the most time on, and there were two that stood out. One of them was a stupid card game. It's not a stupid card game. It's a fun card game called Cards, the Universe, and Everything. And while I think that they're going to appreciate that I'm giving them a free shout out, they're not going to appreciate that I said that was the first app that I deleted off the phone. Because it took up, I think it was by itself, that app took up 2 hours of my time that day. 2 hours of my day doesn't necessarily mean I was just, staring at that for 2 hours and not doing anything else. But at least 2 hours out of that 24-hour period, including my sleep time, I had that game open. And then the top one was Facebook. Facebook was like 2.5 hours. I don't even like Facebook. But I noticed I have a problem. I have a problem with trying to internet debate people. And I killed it with Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, because I deleted that off my phone, and that was great. And I felt great when I wasn't debating people on X all of the time. Except that I just took those exact same habits and I plugged them into Facebook, and then I ended up spending 2.5 hours on Facebook that day, debating with people who are never going to agree with me. It's so stupid, the things that we spend our time on, and I was so ashamed of myself looking at it. So I decided to fix things. I immediately deleted cue cards off of my phone, and I deleted Facebook off of my phone. If I want to look at Facebook, I have to go through a computer, which requires a little bit more effort because usually my wife, when she's working from home, she's at the computer desk. And my laptop dies pretty quickly if it's not plugged in. So, I actually have to put in effort if I want to check Facebook, or I have to log in from my phone because I don't like to save login information on my phone in case of something like a hacking. So, I made it more difficult for myself to do that. And then I noticed something. Immediately by deleting those things, it brought me down to 4 hours without those, which is better, but not great. So then, I decided to create a goal for myself. I have things that I wanted to do, like one of the goals I set at the beginning of the year. Last year was I want to read 10 pages a day, which, is good to start a habit, but it's not the end goal. So I said, you know what, this year I want to read two books a month, up to 24 books a year, okay? 24 books by the end of this year. If I'm not consistent right now, that's okay, because I'm still building the habit. I'm still working my way up to that. But by the end of the year, I want to have read 24 books. And another goal is I want to be able to do 100 push-ups in a single day, 3 to 4 times a week. Right now, I'm at, I think it's 50 or 55, somewhere around that. And, that's, it's a simple goal, it's a small goal, but it's going to eventually build over time. And what I noticed is when I cut down on those apps, when I deleted those 2 apps off of my phone, immediately it became easier to do those things. And also immediately, I was more intentional about spending time with my son. When I was with him, I pulled out my phone and I remembered I don't have Facebook. I don't have cue cards on my phone. And the reason is because of the one I'm right next to. And so it makes me think and put the phone back up. And now I catch myself because it's, like I said, it's a habit. You check your phone every once in a while. There's a ridiculous amount of notifications that people get all the time. Everybody's got push notifications, even though push notifications are how they're tracking you right now. If you want people to track you less and other nations to get your information less, disable those push notifications. But if you get rid of things like that and you start to reduce those bad habits, it makes it more likely that you're going to do the good habits. You're going to be more likely to exercise. You're going to be more likely to read. you're going to be more likely to spend actual quality time with the people around you. You're going to be able to watch a movie without pulling out your phone. I've gotten better about that recently too, because I'm not spending all my time watching something glued to my phone. It makes me think about things. And that's what I want for you guys as well. I want you to be able to be free from this device. So here's what I want you to do. After this video is over, you guys got to support me. Put up the phone for a bit. Or actually, here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Okay, step 1, go to your digital well-being and look at the 2 apps that you spend the most time on. I want you to spend some serious time in prayer about those top 2, maybe top 3 apps if you've got 3 apps that are pretty similar. For me, it was just those 2 that overtook like the majority of the time on my phone. I'm now at a daily high on my phone of 3 hours, and usually it's closer to 2.5 to 2:45, which is much better, but I'd like to get it below 2. But spend some serious time in prayer about whether or not you need to keep those apps on your phone. Sorry, I left my phone stand at home. Spend some serious time in prayer about deleting those off your phone. And when you do that, think of something to do to replace that time. Think of something that you can do instead of doing that. So let's say you get the urge to pull out your phone and play a game. Okay, do 5 push-ups. Every time you get that urge to pull out your phone and open up a game, or every time that you catch yourself opening up a game that you said, I'm going to cut back on this time. Every time you catch yourself, swipe away the app, put the phone down, do 5 push-ups. You are rewiring your brain to replace one habit with another habit. And eventually that's going to become easier. It's going to be difficult for now because you're not used to doing it. But the good thing about habits is, the bad thing about bad habits is bad habits are hard to break. The good things about good habits is they're hard to break as well. So I encourage you, find a good habit that's going to lead you towards one of the goals that you want to do. And replace one of those bad habits with that good habit. I'll be checking back in with you guys because I want to keep you all updated on how I'm doing, and I want to hold you guys accountable too. So put down in the comments what's one bad habit that you want to change. I think that reducing screen time on your phone is a great thing, and set yourself a very attainable goal. Don't get up here and say, I want to go from spending 10 hours on my phone to 1 hour. That's unachievable. If you're spending 10 hours on your phone, you got a really bad problem. But let's say reduce your screen time by 2 hours. Okay? Let's say reduce your screen time by 2 hours. That's a very achievable goal. That's measurable. It's not ridiculous. It gives you some freedom. And it's something that you can see results in right now. So find an achievable goal and let's get at it. Put it down here in the comments so I can see it. And next time I make a video like this, we'll check back in, we'll give an update, and let's see where we are a year from now. I'll see you guys later.